This is Movie Night with the Boys.
Hi, welcome to Movie Night with the Boys. I'm John,
And I'm Zach.
and we are a weekly podcast where we talk about movies. And this week, we're pulling a mulligan on you guys again. We were originally going to discuss Bird Box, but Zach and myself are 90s boys. So instead, we're going to talk about Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. Give us a little bit on that, Zach.
Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers 2022. It's directed by Akiva Schaffer, and it is starring John Mulaney as Chip. He was Spider Ham. He's on From SNL, Ugly Americans, Kroll Show, Big Mouth, a whole bunch of TV shows. Next up, we have Andy Samberg as Dale, and he's from Hot Rod, SNL, That's My Boy, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, The Hotel Transylvanias, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Then we have Kiki Lane as Ellie, and she's from Coming to America and The Old Guard. Will Arnett as Peter Pan, or Sweet Pete. Then Seth Rogen, Eric Bana, J.K. Simmons were also in the movie. So, the synopsis. Chip and Dale live amongst cartoons and humans in modern day LA, but their lives are quite different now. When a former castmate mysteriously disappears, Chip and Dale must repair their broken friendship and save their friend. So, John, tell us about it.
All right. So, in traditional Disney film fashion, this movie opened up with the Disney Castle, and I wouldn't normally mention it, but they laser blasted that thing and it changed all of its appearances around it, and I thought that was pretty cool. So the movie opens with the introduction to Dale, and he goes, when you think of the name Chippendale, the first thing that probably comes to your head is Thomas Chippendale, legendary cabinet maker from the 1700s. And then the second thing is these guys, and he shows a picture of Chippendales, the dancers. And then third, you probably think Chip and Dale, or should I say Chip and I, and we find out from there that Dale is the narrator of the story. And he introduces himself. So he tries to introduce himself to the class, but nobody is interested in him. So he pretends to stab himself in the eye with a pencil, and everyone freaks out. Teacher falls out the window, and that gets Chip's attention, and they slowly hit it off over lunch. And then we get a nice little montage of them being growing up and getting bigger and funnier and coming up with jokes together. And in the background you hear, and this is one of my favorite things about this whole movie, was Tenacious D's friendship, which I love Tenacious D. I'm a big fan. So that was playing in the background. The montage goes on. You find out they get a phone call and become Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers after a series of cameos in Hollywood.
So,
And
did you catch the lunchbox? What was on Chip's lunchbox?
no, I did not.
Uh, it was
Did you?
night. Yeah, it was Knight Rider. It was a Knight Rider
Oh,
lunchbox.
no kidding.
Yeah.
I did love Knight Rider back in the day. So we get a little kind of intro from the old show to kind of reintroduce all the characters from the old show. You get obviously Chip, Dale, Zipper, Monterey Jack, and Gadget. And yeah, that was the intro to the show, and that was the reintroduction of the characters. So there's a little bit of a party. Dale seems a little depressed. When we get a little flash over to Dale's trailer, Chip brings him a piece of cake, and you find out that Dale is about to start doing a new show, Double O Dale. This kind of upsets Chip, and they get into a little talk that's a little bit more than aggressive. And Chip storms off and throws the cake away, and we find out that both Double O Dale and Rescue Rangers got canceled.
Did you notice the outfit he was wearing when Chip came into the room?
Was he the MC Hammer outfit?
Yeah, he's wearing some hammer pants.
Yeah, those things were very, very glistening. So they, because of the falling out, the shows got canceled, or the show got canceled. Double O Dale's failed, and then we flash forward 30 years, Dale's at a fan convention. He's been transformed through CGI. He looks extra crispy.
Yeah, CGI surgery.
Yes. So at the con, you get Dale doing a live stream talking about how he wants to bring Rescue Rangers back. And after he's done, you find out that he's standing next to Lumiere from Beauty and the Beast, and across from him is Ugly Sonic, the one that the fans got completely thrown out. And he was hilarious. All about his teeth, which I found hysterical. And there was also Tigra there from that's He-Man, right?
No,
Thundercats?
no.
What's she from?
First off, it's Tigra,
Okay, then I'm completely off of the name.
and she's a Marvel character. So, as a
Is
Marvel
that
fan,
Tigra?
you should know who the fuck that is.
I should, you're right. But
She's
I thought
also
it was
she's also from the TV show Avengers United They Stand.
I always really thought she was like a Thundercat character or something. While they're talking, Sonic mentions that he's about to be on a show, Ugly Sonic, Uglier Criminals or something like that. It's with the FBI. Super random, but later necessary to be known. And after that, we get Chip, who's apparently this actually really successful insurance salesman who's always employee of the month. But he's also super antisocial and just prefers to be at home with his dog. I don't know if you noticed this in that scene in particular when he gets to his house, but when he takes out his ear pods, he's listening to super heavy metal. Did you catch
Yeah,
that? I thought
that's
that
what
was pretty funny.
the subtitle said.
I'm glad you saw that too. So he gets home and he finds that he's got a missed call and a voicemail on his landline, which I guess surprises him, which I think it would actually surprise me that even he has a landline. But the missed call is from Monterey Jack. So he's invited him over. He said he's in trouble, and Chip goes over, and Jack's freaking out because apparently he owes money to a gang called the Valley Gang because of some sticky cheese. And everybody who knows Monterey Jack knows he loves his cheese. And while they're there, Dale shows up, and they have a really, really weird exchange. Like I felt so much from John Mulaney from this because it was exactly how I feel he performs some of his stand up, where he was just like, you know how he ended it like, oh, and you were here, and then he shuts the door. Like just that his deadpan is, I think, is really really funny, and his delivery actually kind of carried through, even though he was an animated character. The exchange happens. Dale is kind of bewildered by the fact that Chip is just good with everything after all this time. And Chip leaves, Dale leaves, and they get a call shortly after saying that Jack had been kidnapped, nowhere to be found. So the cops called him up. They go back. We get introduced to uh, what is it? Captain Putty. Sorry, I was trying to think of his title there for a second. Captain Putty, who was voiced by J.K. Simmons, and
Yeah.
he was fantastic. I love hearing J.K. Simmons do stuff like that because he was just so stone faced and you could kind of see it, even though he was a putty character. I thought it was really funny. And we also get introduced to Kiki Lane's character, Officer Steckler, who is a super fan of the show versus the captain who doesn't give two shits about it. Captain's like, there's not much I can do. Usually it takes 48 hours and shit's all done. You can't do anything about it. So after the putty captain leaves, Ellie's like, listen, I know that there's not much I can do, but you guys should look into this. And she can't help because she's a cop. But then, like right after that, Chip remembers that he threw the cheese in the trash, and he goes and checks out the cheese, and immediately we've kind of got the boys are back together kind of feeling. And Dale's calling it out, and Chip's like, no, 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 no. But they follow the cheese back to the sticky cheese cheesemonger, Bjornsson, the cheesemonger. He was played by Keegan Michael Key.
Yep.
And he was funny. I didn't expect him to do what he did with the character. Once I found out who he was, I was kind of shocked because he was very into the Swedish aspect of it at first, and I thought it was hysterical. But then
Well,
he jumped over to that.
It's a parody on the Swedish Chef from the Muppets.
Oh, I know. I just didn't expect him to dive so deep into it because he really did. Like he went in for it, and then when he switches over after the fact, because once they get him to bring them back to the sticky cheese, he kind of changes personas to this really hardcore guy, and his accent's I think more was it more aggressive and not Swedish? I
I
feel like
don't
it
know.
changed.
I
I
don't
don't
really
remember.
remember.
But he was, he was hardcore and he was being meanie, and then he thought they were cops because of Chip, and then Dale was like, "No, we're actors," and then he's like, "Oh, my boss, the leader of the Valley Gang, Sweet Pete, he loves actors." So they get zip tied, brought through town, and delivered to Sweet Pete, who is an adult version of Peter Pan. That was actually pretty shocking to me.
Yeah, I didn't expect it to be Peter Pan, but it makes sense.
Yeah, there was
It also
actually. Go ahead.
it also doesn't make sense later in the movie.
Yeah, yeah. And he was Will Arnett, which I thought was really good. Will Arnett's got one of them voices. He just kind of was really good. We also meet on the way in
Oh,
Bob.
speaking of voices, um, so you know when the chipmunks like argue and they go into like and they show you them talking and they have their chipmunk voices?
Yep.
You know who the original voice actors from Chip and Dale actually came back and did those like arguments and stuff in the chipmunk voices. So the chipmunk voices are by the original voice actors. Also the
The only
Fly
Yeah, I was gonna say the
and
Fly too.
Ratchet. The Fly and Ratchet are they're both by the same people. So the two of them did all four voices
hmm
for the
The
original
only one that got
series.
replaced was Monterey Jack because unfortunately they didn't come back, but they
Yeah,
got
do you know? Yeah.
Eric Bana, and he did a good job. So on the way into Sweet Pete's factory, we find out that we're in the uncanny valley, which you can tell very quickly by some of the people that are there. And then we get introduced to Bob, um, the Seth Rogen dwarf character, who was extremely creepy. I'm
Well,
looking right at you,
it was
straight ahead.
they're making fun of like the Polar Express,
Yeah, they vividly said that. They were straight up about it.
but yeah, he's kind of like a mix of
Like
fuck
Gimli from Lord of the Rings.
yeah, Gimli from Lord of the Rings and Beowulf.
Oh, I forgot about Beowulf. Oh, damn. Now that you say it, it's spot on. Oh, ugh. That's a very accurate and horrifying description.
Makes no sense.
It's weird. The whole thing is weird. The look to me is it's uncomfortable. Anyways, so while Bob's bringing them to the office, they make some kind of a point out. I don't exactly remember what he says, but it makes Bob laugh, and you get the Seth Rogen laugh, which I don't know if you hate it. A lot of people hate it. We meet Sweet Pete, and the Chipmunks are clearly there to talk about the bootlegging business. And once they realize that they're about to get caught onto, Sweet Pete starts to try to take them, but they escape. And Jimmy makes chase. Well, they all make chase, but they get off into his private bathroom, and the only way they can escape is through the toilet. So they get out, but not before Bob sticks his axe through the door, thinking he's gonna be able to get to them in time. But before they can flush down, Dale goes and takes the toilet brush and he tries to clean the toilet before he can go down. I thought it was pretty funny that he was even thinking about that at that time, but So they get launched out into like a storm drain, and Chip's like looking around for Dale because he can't find him, and then he looks into a little puddle in front of him and he sees what looks to be Dale's body, and he starts getting all upset and crying, and then Dale shows up out of nowhere, and oh, you were upset that I was gone, and you know, no, blah blah, They've come to find out this information about Sweet Pete, and they end up talking to Ellie about it. Ellie comes over to Dale's house, where they talk about it over the tiniest beers you could ever see. The fact that they gave her one and she was she was nice enough to sip on it, even though it was impossibly small. I thought that was funny. But so they're talking, and Ellie's not sure because of everything going on if she can do anything, and they don't have access to a crime lab. And Dale's like, "Oh, that reminds me," and he opens up his garage, and there's this big, huge, basically shrine to the Rescue Rangers, like all their gear, all their merchandise, all their movies or all their shows, what have you. And she's blown away by it. Chip doesn't believe what he's seeing because he can't believe that Dale's kept it all for that long. And Dale's just like his own super fan. So they're gushing. Ellie and Dale are gushing over it for a moment. They come to realize that Sweet Pete has a fitness tracker, so they go off to this bathhouse that he regularly visits to try to steal it from him, so they can try to get an idea of where the location of the facility is for the bootlegging. And so they sneak in, dressed in the strangest disguises that chipmunks could ever wear, dressed as rats. And they get in somehow, and they make their way into the bathroom the locker room where Sweet Pete's stuff is, and they are just about to break in when a snake catches them. But he turns out to be a super fan of the Rescue Rangers, so it triggers Dale to rap as a distraction while Chip is trying to get into the locker. They rap. The snake almost catches Chip breaking in, so they switch off just as he unlocked the locker. Dale switches up and goes up, grabs the fitness tracker, and they finish their rap with a lot of good chemistry that feels good for them to get back together to, and they make their way out. So after that, Ellie calls the police station and gets them together to try to get the police to raid the place that they've discovered to be where they think Monty would be. Cops show up, and the place has been emptied. Not emptied, but there's nobody there. They're going through, and Ellie finds a cup that is still warm, so they think that someone might have just been there, pretty obviously. Chip and Dale are on a computer pad, and Dale goes to hit the lights, and it just happens to be the lights, which was a lucky break, but it also made Chip walk backwards and somehow activate the surgery machine in the room that was supposed to make the people that went into it more bootlegged. And somehow they managed to get themselves trapped into it. They go through this whole process of avoiding lasers and getting caught and switched around. And at the end of it, the only thing that happens to Chip was a ear replacement to like a Snoopy, droopy, like long black ear and a black and white tail. Dale was untouched.
His tail's always black and white.
Is it?
Yes.
I did not realize that.
That is what chipmunk tails look like.
I never realized that. I thought it was like colored like the rest of them.
Dale is colored the exact same.
I never even saw Dale's tail in this movie, to be perfectly honest. And if I did, I just didn't acknowledge it. So then, yeah, he just has the ear. So once they get out, they spot a whole like wall of things that used to belong to people, and in the middle of it they find Monty's beard, well, his mustache. So they panic, they freak out, they think they're too late.
You also get to see a big buff Garfield.
Yeah, you do. Does it say bigger, or does it say something else? I don't know. It said something like, I think it said bigger. But there was all kinds of changes. I mean, they had what was it, Sneezy? Sneezy the dwarf was in there. Or one of the dwarfs.
Yeah, Sideshow Bob with the dude from The Incredibles.
Monty's. I thought I saw Sideshow Bob.
Flanders.
Ooh.
Yeah, Sneezy and a couple other random cartoons.
Super randoms. So they all go back to the police station, where we get they're arguing next to the coffee machine, and this is only important because of it being relevant later. Chip gives the missing coin from the collection at Dale's house to Dale. It's got the entire cast on it. It's a gold pog. So he keeps it, even though he says he doesn't want it. They're fighting, but then as they're getting ready to walk away from each other, Dale smells the almond butter and what's the other thing?
Gasoline.
Almond butter and gasoline cologne of the Rescue Rangers cologne that only Monty ever wore. And it leads them to the captain's office where both Ellie and the captain are. And they don't know who's the person to blame, so they kind of just run off and try to figure it out later. So they get up to the.
Thankfully, that cologne never actually existed.
Oh, is that? I was gonna say that sounds like something that wouldn't have been real.
No, that was fake.
I'm so glad, so glad, especially with a smell like that. That sounds horrifying. Sounds dangerous. So the boys are back at FanCon, and Dale's trying to convince Ugly Sonic to ask his FBI contacts for help, but Pete and Bob and Jimmy show up because they used Dale's stupid ass post to let everyone know where he was, and they found him. So they're chasing him through FanCon, and this is a funny scene that I just have to bring up. While Bob is chasing them on a rafter, he falls down from one of the rafters and he lands, and himself as Pumbaa, himself as Bob the alien, and I can't remember the cricket's name, but he was the cricket as well from Kung Fu Panda. All three of them are looking at him, and he goes, "What are you looking at?" And they all look like looking down at him, saying his funny eyes, and they all do the Seth Rogen laugh. And it was just funny to see all of them there on the screen together. So after that, Tigre and Lumiere get Bob arrested while Chip is actually caught by Jimmy on their way out. Dale gets away, and with that, he decides to recruit some help.
Well, during the when Peter when Sweet Pete is chasing them, in the score of the music, it was actually the song "You Can Fly" from Peter Pan. It was built into the score, like when he was chasing him, and then he got that cramp in his ass. So
I
that's a
never
little
even noticed
Easter
that.
egg.
That's cool. I mean, I got the only thing. Before we go any further, really, let me just say this: the only thing that caught me off guard with in terms of cameos or anything in this movie was Batman.
Well, I mean, I bet you didn't see this. Here's another Easter egg. When they were running on the street, they ran onto like a bus stop bench,
Yeah.
and on the back of the bus stop bench it said Senator Butthead. So Butthead's a senator in that world.
Uh, I did miss that one too. That's fantastic. Wow, all these callbacks, man. This is like a '90s movie's dream come true, or '90s kid's dream come true. Dale gets away, and Ellie goes to the police station to talk to Putty about going to help Chip, and he says, "No, there's something more important. We got to go." And he brings her to Chip, but she also doesn't realize that he's also part of the Valley Gang. And when she's about to arrest Jimmy and Sweet Pete, he pulls a gun on her. So we also find out that he kind of sabotaged her last attempt at catching the Valley Gang, by the way, because she almost caught them before. Sweet Pete has Ellie call Dale to basically tell him to come there so they can catch him and use him for the bootlegs too, because they want to bootleg him and Chip. And she gives him this coded message to her favorite episode of the series to help him figure out what's going on. Doesn't really work the way she intended it to, because Dale's kind of a nincompoop. But he still understands that they're in trouble. So after he figures out that that Chip and Ellie are in trouble, he goes and sees Gadget and Zipper, who are now married with 42 or some odd kids, to get them to help him. They fly in, and Dale jumps off of their little plane with a fire a firework rocket, and he, with dumb luck, manages just to stop Chip from being completely changed with a dog dog nose on his butt. Was they gonna that was gonna put on him like a dog nose on his butt? He was gonna change him for bootlegging, and it blows up in the machine, releases Chip, and they get out of the machine and they start to make their way out, and they blow the machine up just as Sweet Pete and Jimmy are there. Well, they don't blow it up. The firework blows it up. And the machine still functions, I guess, and it shoots Jimmy and he turns into a fairy. And then it like Spitfire shoots at Pete and he turns into this giant like mixed creature. I only got a couple of things that he was. Besides the cat head, I saw the Wreck-It Ralph arm, the Transformers leg, and the Woody leg. I don't know what that cannon arm's from though.
I don't know what the cannon's from. He has his Peter Pan body still, and
Yeah, yeah.
his hair is Marie from the Aristocats on the
Oh.
top of
Oh
his head.
yeah, okay. Okay, I remember that now.
But I have no
But
idea
yeah,
where the arm is from.
that's the only thing that I don't remember from at all. But he gets up, the first thing he says is I'm gonna wreck stuff like Wreck-It Ralph, and he starts chasing them. And he chases them through this warehouse where they're filming all these different bootlegs. You get like a bootleg Simpsons and a bootleg Pooh, and it was just all these random things. So they get
That,
out.
that was pretty funny. It's Pooch the fat honey bear,
Yeah.
and
Bobata.
and then the Bart Simpson, instead of saying like "I caramba," he's like, what did he say? He said,
I
"I
Pachumba.
I kachunga, I kachunga." Like, what the fuck? So dumb.
Hey, it's bootleg. They got to do something. Excuse me. Um, so they lure the Pete amalgam bot thing, whatever the hell you want to call it, out to the docks, and they use the old bird on the head trick to distract the cat and drop the thing on their heads from the beginning of the movie, like I mentioned. Um, and they think that they've got him, and just as they stand him up, he lets himself free and he shoots a cannonball at Chip, but Dale dives in the way, and that Pog from earlier takes most of the blow. But for a moment, Chip thinks he's dead and gives him all this love and affection, and then he gets up and the Pog saved him. So after that, the Chipmunks release all the bootlegged tunes from a shipping container, and out last comes Monty, who has been basically turned blue and given giant elephant ears to look like the character Dumbo,
He
old
wasn't
Disney movie character.
he wasn't turned blue. He just had the gray ears.
A blue outfit wasn't he? Didn't he had a whole blue outfit on, didn't he? Maybe it was just an outfit though.
The
But
only thing
anyway, it doesn't.
that was the only thing that was changed on him was his ears. He had elephant ears,
Oh,
and then
and the mustache. In the mustache.
his
He didn't have the
mustache was
mustache
gone.
anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But after that, the squad's back together, and Dale introduces everyone to Ellie, and Ellie joins them on their horrible ending episode laugh because it's been a dream of hers. And then she kind of basically insinuates that she wants to start a detective agency with the Rescue Rangers, and that's it. The end of the movie. They're talking about a reboot, and then in the credits, there's a little "We want Darkwing, we want Darkwing."
Which I believe they're actually doing a Darkwing remake. That's in
Good.
the works.
I'm a big Darkwing Duck fan, and yeah, that's Chippendale Rescue Rangers. Alrighty, Zach. Critics gave it an 82. What about you?
I don't know. I give it like a 60. It
What?
was boring.
Really? You didn't like it? I had a really good time with this one.
It was really, really boring.
I I'm sorry to hear you feel that way. I am. I actually completely agree with the critics. 82 is very fair. But with that quick little thing out of the way there, let's get to the good, the bad,
And the meh.
and I think I'll take the lead this week since clearly I might have a little bit more about it. I actually think the good for this movie, despite what you may think, was the story. I think they actually had a really good story with a Finding Monty kind of thing going on, and using the Sweet Pete Peter Pan aged out of the child role kind of thing was a little bit unexpected. So I dug that. I thought the story was well put together. I'm uh I'm hoping that you have something good to say about it.
My good about the movie is probably the bootleg cartoons. They're pretty good, right? Some of them Bubba like Bubba Bubba Gump the movie
I saw that.
about the restaurant. I'm like, what the fuck? You know, yeah, so yeah, the bootleg movies were pretty funny.
You have a meh.
Yeah, for me the story is pretty meh. Like it was boring, it was lame, and it was extremely easy to figure out how they were gonna do it all. So yeah, the story. What about you?
Uh, eh, I honestly could have cared less about Post Malone doing the outro. That was my meh. I thought Post Malone doing the Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers theme song was
That's
really meh.
that's the whole commentary on him doing it. That was the reason why they did it.
I know they the closing line was they're gonna get some super serious pop star or something like that to do it. That's my meh.
What exactly would you wanted? Hmm?
Not Post Malone.
See, you're just hating on Post Malone for absolutely no reason because he's a great artist. No, you're
I don't like
hating on
his
him for
stuff.
absolutely no reason. There was
I don't
nothing
like his
wrong with
stuff.
that song.
Anyways, let's not dilly dally over a song. I didn't I didn't have it bad, but I know you did.
I don't know. My bad was just I was really bored throughout this movie. Yeah, I don't know. Probably yeah. I don't know.
Whew.
I don't know. I was just bored. I don't know. Like this movie really isn't for like, it is for kids, but it was supposed to be for us, and like the cameos were cool, but like I don't know, man. Like the whole movie itself was just kind of boring. Like basically they're just it was based off of their cameos. It's the only thing that made the movie exciting. So yeah, I don't know. The movie, I guess.
He finally came to it. Finally came to it. Well,
I was expecting a lot more from all the stuff I seen online, and I was just like, wow, this movie sucks.
oh, brutal. So sorry to hear you feel that way.
All right, so with that out of the way, what's your highlight scene?
I I really liked the whole amalgamation thing when he came up out of the rubble. Was like all those different things. That whole chase with the bootlegs and ripping through the scenery. As I guess cliche as it is because it's all kind of the same thing and every kind of thing like that with a chase through stuff. But the way he looked or the way it looked while it was chasing and using all of its different features, the woody leg being all woody like and having a transformer leg, the whole aspect of the amalgamation was pretty cool for me. So that scene really was my highlight scene.
Your highlight scene is the last scene in the movie that was just okay, but the movie was great? That doesn't make any sense. You
That was
can't come
my
up with a
favorite
better
scene.
highlight? Like, yeah, so
I
then what else about the movie was good? Nothing. The movie was boring.
Well, then, since you're so critical about it, why don't you tell me what your letdown is? The movie?
Yeah, the movie was a letdown, that's for sure. Um, yeah, hands down, a huge letdown. I mean, they had so much potential. They had so much potential, and they had so many cameos that they just, you know what I mean? Just it was just oversaturated with cameos. There was just too much shit going on. Whenever they were in the Comic Con and shit, there was way too much shit. You're just sitting around looking to see if you can recognize anything. You know what I mean? Like it was just too much.
Too much fan service is what you're saying, I think.
Well, that and it's just they went all out. Like, if it was Disney and they just did like a Disney convention or just Disney shit all over the place, I'd be fine with that. But it's like you're looking at shit, random shit from, I mean, like Fox, even mentioning like Nickelodeon, all this other crap that they had on there. They even had Stan's dad from South Park. Like, it was just too much shit going on. Um, but if I was to pick one scene, I would probably have to say I don't have like I don't know. I did not enjoy the movie, so I don't have a specific scene. The whole movie to me just was a letdown.
The movie as a letdown is not the first time you've said that, so it won't be the last.
Yeah.
Sorry
I'm
to
too
hear you
old.
feel that way.
I'm too old for children's movies now.
Yeah. Now our children have to enjoy them for us.
My daughter didn't enjoy it, so I agree with her.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, Zach, next week, what's your significant improvement?
Okay, so next week we're doing Jurassic World Dominion, starring Chris Pratt. They're bringing back Jeff Goldblum, Laura Dern, Bryce Dallas Howard is also in that. So yeah, look forward to that. Jurassic World Dominion.
Let's get some social media coverage really quick here. You can like and subscribe, rate, review, share, and all the other good things in between on our social media platforms, as well on our podcast platforms. Social media, you can find us on Instagram at MNWTBpodcast. You can find us on Twitter at MNWTBoys. And you can also find us on TikTok at MNWTBpod. Where else can we be found, Zach?
You can find us on YouTube at Movie Night with the Boys ! We post all of our everything on there. We also have a gaming channel that has a couple videos out now called Gaming Night with the Boys. And yeah, so we're gonna start putting out some TV reviews, so keep an ear out for that. And yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe.
All right then. Zach, I know it hasn't been as real for you this week, unfortunately. It's been a real it was a real letdown. But until next week,
deuces. 2020 and 2021 don't exist. It's literally 2019 to 2022. There's nothing in between there. So it's 2019 or 2022.
Okay. We'll thank you all so much for listening to Movie Night with the Boys.